What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mindset Mogul podcast. We are your hosts, Josh Jacobs and Bradley Mora, and we have a very special guest for you today. This is somebody I came across about 2 years ago on a podcast when I was at the beginning of my transformation, and everything that he said really resonated with me. He had gone through a massive transformation himself, and it inspired me to push harder on my goals. Aside from his career accomplishments, such as heading the social media department for K-Swiss, being the creative director for Wags Capital Food and Beverage, and crushing it as a freelance marketer, he inspires others to be better by living a disciplined life and showing what's possible through the consistent pursuit of his potential. Please welcome Omar Prestwich. Thank you so much, man. It's a pleasure having you here.
Yeah, I really appreciate that intro, Josh. That's awesome. I like the you talked about.
So I would love to start at to be honest, I'd love to kind of get to know you a little bit more, start at the beginning of your story and get into, the more recent things later, but take us back a little bit. Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like?
Yeah, I appreciate that. The only time I'm from Utah and I live here now. I grew up in just outside of Provo, Utah. So if anyone knows where that is, it's a very Mormon influenced place. So I grew up around like good people, good values, different mindset, right? Like I didn't really know how to think for myself until later on. But my background and everything is really here in Utah where I still live. That's where I'm from.
Nice. Okay.
What's interesting though is I grew up like I'm an artist. I've always been an artist. If you ever talk to my mom or when she shows me like some of my childhood drawings, I could draw like Ninja Turtles at like a 3, 4, whatever year old I was that shouldn't be able to draw that well. So art's always been in my blood. But my dad is like hardcore workaholic, and we kind of grew up a little bit in a farm area in my high school years. So art like wasn't an option. So I was the weird kid that I love art and music. And I mean, growing up in the 90s, right? So it was like, that's what it was all about. And my dad being like, you're not going to do anything with that in your life. You need to go to college. You need to get a real job and put that art stuff aside. But I never did, and here I am, literally getting paid to do art.
That's amazing.
Can you talk a little bit more about as you matured in the process of going through your life, sticking with the art, sticking with the thing that you were passionate about, and actually turning that into the career that you've now been in for a long time? Because I think that I don't think everyone can say that, and it's probably an important lesson for the audience on what your thought process was and tactics and strategies that you use to stick with what you actually care about.
For sure. And really that's where my story starts, Brad. I grew up in again, a good place, good family. So it's nothing about my family, but when you grow up Mormon and you're kind of told like a certain lifestyle to live, you're limited on what your potential is, in my opinion. And so I didn't really know how to get going. It wasn't until I actually broke away from the Mormon church where everything kind of opened up for me, because it was like it was the first time I actually took control of my mind. So I was actually a college dropout. Music had become such an important part of my life, music and art, right? So I was trying to get an art degree and it wasn't happening. When I came back from being a missionary for the church is what you do. I actually was really fortunate and lucky to serve as a missionary in Los Angeles. So being in downtown LA, seeing like 2005 to 2007, I got to see like real culture change and stuff like that. So when I came back home to Utah, I was just like, dude, electronic music is like the next big thing. So I just dove into EDM, like Diplo and Justice and A-Track. And I was like, holy shit. And then I started doing door-to-door sales, because that's like a summer job that you do in Utah. and I went to Pittsburgh and Boston and Kansas City and St. Louis. So as I got to travel, I'm still as a Mormon kid, like my world was opening up. And then eventually I was just like, I can't do sales. I hate it. I'm not doing college because it's not for me. But music is my thing, and business is like, I understand it because I brought like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars as a door-to-door salesman. So I learned how to literally make business out of nothing. And so I remember having a mental breakdown and being like, fuck, I'm going to do music. If anyone has ever heard a song it's by Flosstradamus and Diplo, it's called Original Dawn. There's this drop that says, damn, son, where'd you find this? And so I actually trademarked that. It's funny, I actually have a little toy logo of me right here wearing the shirt.
That's awesome.
I'm telling you this story because, like, I'm trying to figure out, this is social media is just starting. I'm like, dude, I'm going to start a record label. I have friends that do music. Not planned, but I'm wearing a t-shirt. And when you Google X&G has produced music with Skrillex and Boys Noise and Bauer and like the top tier, top world producing DJs. And they came together because I decided to take a chance on a record label. And as I started telling my friends about it, people that believed in me, like, yeah, let's get together. So I and my friends, we built a record label, and obviously I was like grinding for it, fizzled out. I decided to keep doing the record label and manage X&G. They were my like top two artists that like merged together and did their thing. And so as they decided to continue doing X&G and I was trying to do my record label, we toured like the country. And that's when everything started happening for me, because I just didn't stop doing art. And I just like taking photos and trying to figure out branding and social media and how do I have a 9-to-5 and still do what I love and not care what anyone thinks, because ultimately that's what was holding me back. It was always like, what do my parents think? What do my friends think? I'm a college dropout. An important thing I left out is I was married at some point in the middle of all of this. And when I got divorced, part of it was because I was chasing these dreams. You're not going to accomplish anything. Kind of like that was what I was told. And that drive, when people tell you can't accomplish something, you won't accomplish something, you're a piece of shit. You have the option to prove that person right by being a piece of shit, not getting after it, or proving them wrong and proving yourself right by getting after it. So I'm going to pause for a sec there, but that's really how everything started for me. It was not giving shit, going into the music world and figuring out how I can contribute to the industry and make a living out of it.
That's amazing. I love how you said when you started, your mind wasn't open to a lot because of the way you grew up. And that makes sense how a lot of us grow up until you start seeing the world, touring, going all around, and your mind starts opening up to all these things. It just goes to show you how powerful your mind is in general about the way that you're going to view life and the actions that you're going to take in life. But so very cool, by the way. I actually didn't know that about your story. And
yeah, most people don't. And I mean, that was because I got to a dark point, even with the music industry, where I was like, dude, it's not for me. And so I actually, I was 31 at the time at this point, because I'll be 37 next month. And I wanted to prove everyone wrong. My family, other people that didn't believe me. I wanted to show people like I'm good at what I do, but I had to prove it to myself. So at that point, I actually, and a lot of people don't know this, but with no money, I'm talking $13 in my bank account, $100 cash, and $30-something thousand in credit card debt. I moved to Seattle on a one-way trip and never looked back. And that's really where all my journey started, because that was a starting point of when like K-Swiss reached out to me and everything opened up. and knowing how to pivot when I need to. That's why I was able to eventually go and live in Los Angeles and do that thing. And because of what I learned and how to apply it, that's how I pivoted again and, came to WAGs.
I think it's super impressive. It sounds like throughout this process, you essentially, I like something that I've been trying to do a lot more of is live with no shame, don't care about what other people think, and then just relentlessly pursue what you're passionate about. And I think that shows in taking a one-way ticket to Seattle. It's like you're just making moves for you. And that seems like the same type of thing when you were in a bad relationship. Like you identified and prioritized yourself, recognized you were in a bad situation, and made the moves that you needed to make for yourself. And that continual and relentless pursuit, eventually things break for you. And it sounds like that's like what you experienced when you went to Seattle.
I got goosebumps because you probably can't see it. I've never told this, Brad. I wasn't in a bad relationship. I didn't think I was. The truth is I was Dear John, and I was so oblivious to what was going on. Like I did not imagine going overnight with your friends camping, coming home to a letter and your whole entire house changed. That's what happened to me. So I'm very thankful it did, because it was like, if she wouldn't have actually done what she did, which is get a divorce and rip the Band-Aid off, essentially, I wouldn't have woken up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality. I didn't, looking back and analyzing, yes, it was, but I was so dumb for reals. And when I say dumb, I don't think I was taking accountability for myself. I was just chasing my dream, but not paying attention to other things. And so I'll take accountability for that. Granted, yeah, looking at it, everything and how it played out, very bad relationship I should never have been in. Dude, freaking dumb. A horny young kid
So question on that. So you, like you said earlier, you can either take those situations, like those challenges, and prove somebody right that by all the things they say, and you can't accomplish these things, or you can prove somebody wrong by going out and accomplishing those things. Was that one of those moments for you where it just motivated you to get after it, and you use that challenge and adversity as fuel to move forward and do the things you want? Or did it take a little while and something else was the factor?
Dude, I remember reading page after page, and I didn't even finish it when I stopped and I finished the whole thing. But when I was like, I'm not the person in these pages. But that was it. I just told myself, I'm like, no, I'm not this person. If they think I'm this person, or she thinks I'm this person, they're clearly talking about someone else. And I never looked back. Never.
So when I know that I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, just because I'm curious, because this is in line with, when you decide that you're going to make a change, because ultimately that's what it is. It's I'm deciding I'm going to, be this person or be the best version of myself. I know for me, probably the biggest catapult for me becoming the elevated best version of myself is 75 Hard. And that's actually the podcast that I discovered you on, was when you went on with Andy and you did 75 Hard. So I'm curious, how far along after, I mean, it sounds like it was a little bit of time, but how far along after this moment where you had these realizations did you find 75 Hard, and what differences did 75 Hard make versus just having something in your life happen? And I guess what I'm saying is the difference between having something in your life happen and using that as motivation to become the best version of yourself versus doing a program like 75 Hard at any time without necessarily having to go through a divorce or a breakup to take yourself to that next level and become the best version of yourself. Talk about that a little bit. When did you come across that, and what are the similarities?
Yeah, it's incredible. If anyone is doing 75 Hard and you're doing it right, you already see the magic. For people that have never done 75 Hard Imagine being your best self every single day, or you're trying to be your best self every single day, like your elite version self. And eventually at day 75, you become that person, or you get a taste of that person. That's really the magic of 75 Hard. I've been on a personal health journey for like 10 years. I used to be 200 pounds. So I'm 5'5". That's a big fat boy. When I was in Los Angeles, so that was like 2010, and I was living in St. Louis. When I discovered 75 Hard in 2020, right at the pandemic. So 10 years, something like that. And it was this kid named Casey Adams, who I follow. He's a young entrepreneur who runs a podcast. He had posted a picture of him finishing 75 Hard. And he's already like a fit young man, but his smile of how he finished it really intrigued me. So I just curiously like clicked on it, and I started seeing all these people like smiling at the end of 75 Hard. And I was like, I want that change, because I could see, even though I had found success in my life, even though I was still chasing something more, because I think every person's always trying to get better. I wasn't happy. Like I have pictures on my phone to this day and videos where I record myself, like looking at myself in the mirror. And cause I want to see how shitty I look, how I feel. You can't hide that. And so I told myself, like, whatever this program is, I'm going to do it. And I actually didn't even look into I didn't know who Andy was. I didn't know who First More, like nothing. I had just a hashtag, and I looked at my calendar, and I'm like, oh, it's going to end this day. And then like that night, I just read about it, and it was like August, or I think it was something like August or October. I can't remember, or not October, but, and I just got after it. 2010, it changed my life. Holy cow, it changed my life. My career improved, my income doubled. What I couldn't accomplish in 10 years, I accomplished in 75 days. Like I'm still getting residuals from that. Like when I'm in the worst place, it's easy. Let's get disciplined and do 75 Hard.
It's an instant realignment tool. It really is. Just curious, random question, but what was the hardest thing for you about 75 Hard the first time you did it?
And this might sound silly, but well, I mean, the only hard part is overcoming yourself. It wasn't hard because I'd made up my mind. And that's why I say it might sound silly. Like there was no option. Day one, I remember just being fucking gassed. Day two, waking up with a migraine and cramps and still having to get after it. Day three, the same thing. And I was like, I just knew like, this is just how it's going to be every single day, because your body's not used to like actually getting after it. That was like, it wasn't hard after that. What is hard is after you finish it, because you think you can keep doing it, but you can't.
So I was going to ask you about that too, because my first experience with 75 Hard, one of the struggles I've had is I was 320 pounds. I was a big boy.
Yeah.
And one of the struggles I've had is like yo-yoing. After the first time I did 75 Hard, I didn't maintain the same level of discipline, and I wound up gaining some weight back. And I feel like the second time I did it is what like truly changed me and changed my identity and the way that I view myself. And I've been able to stay pretty consistent ever since. So I'm curious about that, because I know we talk to a lot of people who do the program or have attempted the program. What are some of the keys for you to like staying consistent off of the program? And that's a selfish question too, because for me, it's incredibly easy to stay consistent while I'm on it. And then as soon as I'm off it, it definitely is more of a struggle.
Yeah. This is my personal take, obviously. It's my internal battle of what I'm trying to get out of 75 Hard. Sometimes, and this is so silly and dumb, and I fail every time when I get in this mindset, is I'll be working out and putting in some serious work, and I'll get like confident, and I'll start posting stupid shit on social media for attention. That's because I start seeing that people are looking, and that's not the right. At that point, I'm doing something for someone else, and I always end up failing because I'm trying to do this for me, right? So what always happens is when you eventually realign with yourself, like you said, and you like, look, I have no other options. So for example, when I left Wax Capital in November, I left because I needed to start my own thing. I just had that, like, I just needed to do it. And the best way to get shit done is to get on 75 hard. So I did another round of it. And that's why you do it, because you unlock this potential of no bullshit if you've done it, and you hold yourself to a standard, and it becomes one of those things where I'm not even trying to tell anyone I'm doing it. I need to get it done. And that's like the real magic. And as you keep, I just finished it, and I got in good shape after where I was. But when I got on day 75, and this was like in just like a month ago, I looked in the mirror and I was like, nope, you're not there, bro. Literally, I didn't even count it, because when you get to a different level, you need more. So 75 hard eventually becomes like, okay, now you're here, now what? And you have to prove that to yourself. And until you really do it, that's why there's the Live Hard program, because you have to continue to push yourself when it's on, and when you have the breaks, and then it's really you versus you. Did you change? Then let's fucking see it. If you didn't, well, you'll see it too.
That was awesome and super timely for me, as I came off a 75 hard like a couple months ago for the first time. I technically failed it because I had an artificial sweetener at day 50, so I need to do it again. But but yes, you come out of it and you are questioning, like, where do I go from here? And how you just articulated that is super helpful for me to hear. And I'd ask you a follow-up question. So you're like, right now, when you wake up in the morning, like, what are the first thoughts that are running through your head? How are you setting yourself up on a daily basis to keep the intensity, to use the intensity that you just expressed coming out of a 75 hard? Like, what are some tactics that you have to maintain that?
I actually got a cheat code from the master himself who created it, which is Andy Frisilla. When I was with him in St. Louis and we were talking about the program, he said a few things that really fascinated me. But he, for example, he sleeps in. He's not like, I'm sure he is an early riser, but he manages his day in such a really interesting way where it made it like, I just realized that to be intense, you also have to respect your body. So I keep the intensity by knowing I have tasks to do, but I don't need to show it off. So I'm trying to think how to explain it. Like my routine right now, I have a dog, so it's easy to get up and go. But for example, I was up until like 3 a.m. today working on a project. So waking up at 6 or 5 is not an option. I'm going to sleep. And I keep the intensity by knowing it doesn't matter what time of the day, I have to get my shit done. If I have to move it around, I'll move it around. But the way that I keep the intensity is by saying yes to what I need to get done and saying no to the things that will distract me from whatever it is. That's really how I keep the intensity. That's the only way to do it. Yes, saying yes to the right things and no to the wrong things.
So you wake up and you know you have to get it done. You're either going to do it or you're not. What are some of the non-negotiables that you have every single day, no matter what? Yeah.
So like a non-negotiable is I have to go out. My dog's, you can see him right here.
He's cute.
He goes with me everywhere. Even when people book me to do things, they know you have to get me a hotel room with a dog because my dog's coming with me. So a non-negotiable is like, I have to go out and run. Another non-negotiable, I have to drink like minimum when I'm not on 75 hard, half a gallon. If like, or at least get that gallon. Dude, water is so good for you. Holy shit. Another non-negotiable is your power list. You have to get shit done. So like the things that no matter what, I check my day. I always get a workout in no matter what, and I drink water. And then at night, you got to recap your day. So no matter what, as long as I get those things done, to me, that's a win.
I love it.
Yeah.
Another question about, I like to kind of dig in a little bit to our guests and find out something that will help a lot of people, right? We've been talking about this whole time, and you started off with this, is we are limited by our minds. A lot of us don't go anywhere because of our limiting beliefs, and our limiting beliefs stop us from pursuing the things that we want to in life. Obviously, from your story, you have not allowed your limiting beliefs to stop you. I'm sure we all deal with limiting beliefs, and we always will, and it's just about how we overcome those. What are some of the limiting beliefs that you have overcome or are working to overcome that, I think it would be helpful to share, because again, all of us have limiting beliefs. So I'd be interested to hear about some of the ways that you've overcome those, because obviously you have.
I think one thing to add to that too is how have those changed over time? Because I'm sure that they were different in the early days when you were moving away from being a Mormon to, I know everyone still has them. So what are you battling with today, and how has that evolved over time?
Yeah, thank you, Brad. That's again, I got goosebumps. People don't talk about what real struggles they have, because you want to share the good stuff, and you want to slightly share the bad stuff. Enough again, but never like the bad stuff. So I'll answer both. I'll actually start with the struggle. I'll start with the struggling first. No matter what, I struggle always have struggled with, and I 100% attribute it to my religious upbringing, is I struggle with, I'm not good enough. I'm never going to be good enough, no matter what I do. And also another thing that has stemmed from that era of my life that I still struggle with today, is that people always want something from you. They'll use you. And so I struggle with that because I am a giver, and I will always want, I will give way more than is ever expected of me, because I want, and it's again something I struggle with. I want that acceptance or appreciation. And if I don't get it, then I struggle with that feeling, right? But because I'm aware of those things, and what has changed, Brad, over time is I'm aware of that, and I don't let that bother me anymore. I try as much not to let it bother me anymore. I push things aside, and I just remind myself, I'm like, dude, they have their life, they have their shit they're worried about. You go do you. And so, especially as an entrepreneur now, and especially as you're with family and stuff like that, the daily reminder of you just have to worry about yourself, and that's it. That's to me the most what has changed drastically over time. I'm trying not to ramble, because I'm trying to think it through on the spot. That's the number one thing that has changed in my life, is controlling my emotions, not letting people, I can't think what you think. If I look at you guys, I can't interpret your feelings towards me and then let it go in my head and then let it process. That's way too much. That's not how it works. So I'll stop that ramble there. But because I struggle with overthinking and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, chill the fuck out, stay on course, do your thing.
Sounds very familiar for me.
Yeah, we ramble all the time, and it's definitely encouraged on this show. And I think it's worth for the audience to know that we did not give any of these questions to Omar ahead of time, and so he's getting this is real time, this is vulnerable, and so we appreciate your honesty and you thinking through the questions. And I think one super important insight was not worrying about what other people are thinking, trying to take yourself out of that space, because I know I suffer from that, where you're spending the time and the emotion on how somebody else is in a situation. You can't, that's an uncontrollable. And instead you just keep bringing yourself back to the controllables. What's in my own head? How can I progress forward? And so I think your awareness of that and your awareness of these limiting beliefs, that it sounds like is one of the keys to your success on constantly trying to step away from them, is just, this is where I'm going to. And when you recognize it, you then get to step away from it. And I think it takes people a long time, and some people never get there, of just having that level of clarity and awareness to know this is where my mind's going to go, and I'm going to take a step forward and away from that.
Yeah. This kind of, I don't want to forget it, because Josh, you asked me this, and it ties right with what you said, Brad, with mindset. And your mind is so freaking powerful. When I got married, my biggest fucking fear, and I said it out loud, I'm going to get divorced. Did it happen? Yes. When K-Swiss years ago, in 2015, they announced a partnership that they were going to rebrand, and Diplo was going to work with them. And I was like, I'm going to be a part of that. I was a part of that. I was the face of that campaign. When I tweeted, all I want for my birthday is to be with, or get a picture with Gary Vee. I have the tweet and I have the picture the day after my birthday, because I flew in. Universe delivered. It was me, Gary Vee, Tyler Babin, his videographer at the time, and Barney Waters, the president of K-Swiss, in an elevator. So what you put out
just gave me goosebumps.
When I was doing, and I ended up working as a global person for K-Swiss. When I was in Seattle, I remember walking by this creative studio called Creative Live, owned by Chase Jarvis. And he inspired me actually years ago for Utah to be a photographer. And I kept saying, I'm going to collab with him. Fast forward, my last project with K-Swiss was a partnership with Chase Jarvis. And I created the creator shoe with him and K-Swiss, because I manifested it. When I was doing 75 Hard, towards the end, I kept, I got screenshots on my phone when Andy would post in his office, and I would just manifest. I'm like, I want to meet Andy, and I want to I want to be in that office. I ended up being on his podcast. So what you have to go back and look at these things, because in the moment you don't realize it. In the moment you're emotional. In the moment, but until you go back and hey, you manifest it, but you have to put in the work. Obviously, you have to be doing the baby steps and make a trajectory. But if you are manifesting and road mapping that manifest, you can accomplish some serious things.
I'm so happy you brought this up, because me and Brad have been talking about this a lot the last 2 weeks. I'm on the last day of phase 1 right now, and the 10 minutes of visualization has been huge for me. I've really, really grown to appreciate that, and I'm gonna keep that going. So I'm happy you brought that up, because I do feel like it's a very powerful and real thing. Of course, like you said, you have to take action, but if you don't visualize and see yourself there and know exactly what you want, how are you going to get there? So yeah, that was very cool to hear. When you said that thing about being in the elevator with Gary Vee, getting a picture, that gave me goosebumps. That was wild.
Wild in an elevator.
Dude, well, we were going up to his cannabis thing. I was a VIP for that thing. You just got,
Crazy.
if you've ever read the book, The Alchemist, it's a book that I love going back to because, Mach 2, it is written. Or you just keep going on your personal journey. And when you go on your personal journey and you're true to yourself for the right reasons, the universe always will help you. Dude, living in Seattle, being broke, no fucking money, waking up with bed bugs because I was like literally living in a shit fucking hole, to now we're 6 years later. I live in my own townhome. I bought this. Like,
Sick.
I literally.
It's amazing. And it looks beautiful. I love when you post the pictures of your runs in the mountains, and man, that's amazing. Just quick side cap. I came out there to Utah to run a marathon with James Lawrence, who I know you did that as well, which was unbelievable experience. Yeah, I know. I came a week or two after you were there, but man, what a beautiful place to live. What an unbelievable place to just go running with your dog every morning. So yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to say that. It's cool.
Well, I know we got to wrap it up.
One thing I do, I want to make sure we.
Yeah, please, Brad.
Go for it.
One last thing. We'd love to hear about. So you said November, you took the jump. You're doing your own thing now. You definitely had a sick job at WAGs. And so what was what led you to coming to the conclusion it's time for me to do this? And what were the first couple of steps you took to actually make the jump? Because I think for a lot of people, it's that first step that's the scariest and the hardest. And then, so learning from you, I think would be helpful for folks.
Luckily for me, I've done this enough times where, and again, going back to The Alchemist, if it happened, this is a quote from the book, if it happens once, it may never happen again. If it happens twice, it will surely happen again. And so, like, as I have modeled, as I've been a little more aware of, like, what the parallels of my life, my dude, I'll be fine. Like, just keep at it. Eventually it works out. Before I joined WAGs, and actually, I don't think I've ever publicly said this outside of, like, my friend conversations, especially not in an audio format. But Andy Frisilla offered me a position before WAGs. To him and Emily, they offered me to join their team and I'd be Andy's brand manager, which is holy fuck a dream come true. So when I tell you, like I really, I contemplated, and because I was like, oh shit, again, like, this is an opportunity. Do I take it? Do I not? And I decided not to. And I ended up taking the WAGs position. Which was hard, right? It really was. And then Andy comes and he's homies with Aaron. So seeing that, I'd always question, like, did I make the right choice? And I did, because I was able to build, WAGs didn't have a marketing department. So I actually built their multi-million-dollar marketing department from scratch. I got to hire the teams. I got to do all these things. And to me, that was a dream come true as well. So the opportunity that Aaron gave me was undeniable. But because then I got to the point where there wasn't, to me, it was like, there was really no more, I couldn't do more. I had this just desire of like, I want to work with more brands and do commercials, and I can't do it here. And so it wouldn't be fair for Aaron to have someone being a marketing director who has his heart and mind trying to do something else. So it wasn't fair for them. And I told them that, and I was like, hey man, I'm just not the guy. And so it was easier to do. So if anyone is scared, this is my advice. Number one, if you have days off, take those days off and work. Let's see if you're an entrepreneur. Don't fucking waste those days. Put in the work. Number two, save money for 3 months, because if you're going to get out and work and do your entrepreneur thing, all your shit has to be taken care of. If you can't save money for 3 months, you're bad with money, period. Save fucking money, cut the bullshit. And if you really want to do it, make a plan, work at night, get enough, and then just do it. Get after it. You'll know. you'll know if you're made for it or not. Like if you, by the amount of times that you try, by the amount of times that you don't work, like that's just how it is. So this time I have no option, and I don't. So I'm doing the best that I can, but I've got years of experience of trying to fucking do it.
Well, it sounds like the zero options mentality has helped you before. So I'm sure that it's going to work in your favor this time. I got one more question for you. But before we do that, just let everybody know, we're going to pop all your stuff up at the beginning of the episode too, but let everybody know where to follow you. Yeah.
It's really easy. Omar Prestwich. And I did that intentionally. Brand yourself at Omar Prestwich, anything. Google, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat. Easy peasy.
Perfect. I love it. We'll pop those up here. Last question for you, Omar. And I just want to say thank you so much for being here today. This has been awesome. So just want you to talk to the audience one more time for a second. If somebody came to you right now and they feel lost, maybe they're just unhappy in their career, maybe they're overweight, maybe they're 200 pounds at 5'5", just unfulfilled, and you could force them to do something every single day for 30 days, what would you force them to do every day to improve their situation?
Take radical accountability and track. I would just say for the first 30 days, track the change that you want to make. Don't do anything yet. Just track it. If you want to lose weight, just track everything that you're eating. See, like, where's the problem happening? Why are you eating, right? But radical accountability is the number one thing I would tell someone to do.
I love that answer.
So good.
Look at yourself in the mirror. No one is going to, dude, when you look at yourself, like literally, you can't lie to that person. You're a fucking idiot if you think you can.
I love it. I love it.
And that's
so
it, dude.
good.
No one can change you but you. That's it. If you want it, you'll know. Track it.
I love it. Omar, thank you so much, my man. Really appreciate it. Everybody go follow Omar, and we will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, Omar.
Thanks, Brad. Cheers.
Thank you.